I am happy to see that on my birthday, which is what I said, there were peaceful protests around this world against him because he is a problem.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your host, Bruce GNT, and I know I've been away for a while. I was on a work trip. I had to take care of some things for the past week, but I'm back. I'm here now. And we're jumping right back into it. So Jasmine Crockett responds to the Attorney General Pam Bondi, and it's kind of spicy. I watched a little part of it, and I was like, you know what? Jasmine Crockett, as always, is cooking, so we just have to talk about her. We gotta give her the screen time that she so deserves. So without further ado, let's jump into the video.
Thank the chairman. I now recognize the ranking member of the subcommittee, Jasmine Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I first just want to begin with a news alert. Guess what? Joe Biden is not the president anymore. So maybe we can move on. Maybe we can move into the present because it seems like we are living in the past. And listen, these are not the good old days, you know, like you used to sit around and your grandparents would talk to you about what used to happen. What we need to be talking about is how we are going to legislate, because I think that some of my colleagues have confused what our jobs are. And I get that we're sitting in judiciary. And so it may seem as if we are here to be litigators, but we are here to be legislators, which means that we are supposed to be writing laws, not trying to have our own trials and determine whether or not something is true or not, or whatever the case is, or who should be sued, who shouldn't be sued. All I know is that a great American hero.
I'm gonna try not to stop it too much, but I find it funny that whenever they talk about, you know, opposing people on different sides of the aisle, that's when people are just like, why are we talking about that? That doesn't make any sense. We're talking about this. People spent the longest time talking about Trump and everything like that, all his legal trouble, her especially. Now all of a sudden now we're just like, but that's in the past with Biden. That already happened. Why are we talking about the past? We need to talk about the future. Hold the same energy. She said the same when she had her little comment about the whole Hot Wheels thing. She said, hold the same energy. I do agree that talking about the past really just doesn't make any sense. If it's things that need to be done when it comes to, you know, Biden and how he ran things and stuff that's coming out, and he should probably be charged or whatnot. Allegedly, I'm not saying any of this is true. I'm just speaking in generalities, right? Then yeah, it's something that should be discussed. But to just throw it off and be like, it's in the past, why you keep talking about it? But then they keep talking about things in the past, what happened with Trump. That's all I gotta say about that.
A good senator out of New Jersey said something to the effect yesterday as he was shattering the record for holding the floor, a record that had been held by another racist in this country. As he shattered that, he said something about the fact that this should not be about left versus right. It should be about right versus wrong. And I am going to tell you that I want us to focus on right versus wrong. The reason that we are struggling right now in this country as it relates to people not trusting agencies, honestly, a lot of it is because of elected leaders. Let me tell you, one of the things that the chairman and I actually agree upon, we don't agree on a lot, is that we both know that there has been a sharp incline as it relates to threats upon our lives. Regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, we both know and agree that as sitting members of Congress, we both are enduring more death threats than anybody should in this country. And I believe that it is because of the divisive rhetoric, and it is because of the selective enforcement of things. And so when we have, and I'm gonna be clear, because I had remarks and I'm going a whole other way. To have the sitting attorney general go on, and I'm gonna call it faux news. I know some of y'all love it, but it's fake to me. To have her go on Fox News and to then decide that she wanted to send a threat to me, it was wrong. Because here it is, she is the highest law enforcement agent in this country, and people are watching and they are consuming this information and they are believing that simply because I decided that I wanted to exercise my right to free speech, which I am not abridged from doing, that she then wanted to then politicize something that should not be politicized. I don't like Elon Musk. I'm going to say it 50,000 times. I don't like him. I don't like that he going out there and he firing people. I think that he's a crook because somehow the rest of us can't sit around and get whatever federal contracts we want. The rest of us can't sit around and get law enforcement and get them somehow ordained as federal law enforcement to protect him. The rest of us can't get our dealerships protected by the federal government. That is somebody that is operating above the law.
So let's address that first point, right? What she's saying is absolutely correct, especially in the first half, about how they're going through a lot of death threats and everything like that, more so than ever, both sides of the aisle. Now, when it comes to the later half of her argument, right, she's basically essentially saying, because of her remarks talking about Elon Musk saying that he's this, that, and the third, and Pam Bondi saying, hey, look, your rhetoric, because Pam Bondi didn't outwardly threaten her, and I'll put the video up there so you guys can see it. She's saying, hey, look, your rhetoric can incite some people to do some things, which it has, and make people feel like, you know what, these are things that they have to do. And it's funny, they talk about Trump doing the same thing, but it's like, both sides do it. Everyone wants to sit here and act like, oh, that's not true, we don't do that. Stop throwing rocks and then hiding your hand. Stop, it's ridiculous. Because when you say these things about Elon Musk, and I'm not saying that I like him either, trust me, I don't. You need to realize that the more ignorant, the more weaker-minded of us, of people, are going to say, you know what, I have to do something. Hence why they start destroying his property. Now let's go into the second half, the third half, I guess. She's talking about how he's enjoying certain privileges, about, you know, not everyone could just sit around and get government contracts. Two things about that. One, you're insinuating that he's not doing anything, not providing any service, and not giving a service to where the U.S. government is saying, hey, look, let's provide him a contract. So you're thinking in your mind, he's just sitting down being white. And the reason I say white is because, trust me, they always relate it back to race. I see it. You just think he's sitting down being a rich white man, they're just giving him money. That's what you think. I'm not for, and I'm not speaking 100% for, you know, government contracts saying that all above board, but he's helped NASA. Did he not bring down those astronauts down? Okay, cool. They were up there for 9 months during the Biden administration when they weren't supposed to be up there for that long. Why are you not talking about the other government contracts that for sure aren't providing a service? Because I've heard it myself. We have government contracts repairing certain military gear, and guess what? They're not. Wasn't a major airline, I'm gonna have the name on the screen, weren't they a big, you know, contributor, you know, and weren't they someone that have government contracts, and what was going on with their planes? Okay, but no one wants to talk about that. It wasn't an issue when Elon Musk was getting all this support and government contracts before he put out his support of Trump. It wasn't an issue because some of that was during the Biden administration. But no one's talking about that. Like I said, keep the same energy. No one had nothing to say about his government contracts until this. And then not only that, you're sitting down saying, well, how is it fair that he gets that no one else does? He has two companies that provide a service to the U.S. government. What are you talking about? Why would I get a government? Why would a known person get a government contract? Okay, let's move on to the second point. She's talking about law enforcement being ordained as federal officials to protect, you know, him and his dealerships. She just openly sat here and said how they are getting death threats themselves, and it's been an uptick. Elon Musk has also been getting death threats. People legit feel this man's a Nazi. I can't answer that because I really don't know. As far as I know, he hasn't put out any Nazi rhetoric. Yeah, he did the salute, but truth be told, and this is a tangent, when I first saw it, I didn't really think much about it. I just thought, okay, he's being weird like he always is and doing some weird like tick or whatever. It's only until I saw other videos people talking about it that I was like, oh, yeah, it kind of does look like that. I'm not even going to front. Whether I don't know, you could just label him a Nazi just based off of that. My personal opinion. But be that as it may, are people not destroying his property? People are going so far as to paint swastikas on people that drive Tesla vehicles. They're destroying his car dealerships in droves. I saw a video of a man attacking a woman that was in a Tesla. Like, legitimately, these are things that are happening, but yet you're sitting here going, why is that fair? People are committing crimes against him, and he didn't outwardly do anything wrong. Protesting him is fine. That's one thing. But they're attacking people that drive his vehicles and calling them Nazis and X, Y, and Z. When 4 or 5 years ago, driving a Tesla was like, oh my God, that's so dope. You're helping the environment. Even though it messes up the ground because of what they have to mind for when it comes to the batteries. We're not going to talk about that. All of a sudden now it's switched. So now those very same people, which on both sides of the aisle, that wanted to save the environment, to help the environment, now they're branded as Nazis and haters because they drive a vehicle. This is the hypocrisy I'm talking about. You just talked about how you getting death threats and everything like that. He is as well. He's getting protection. 'Cause I'm not gonna sit here and act like she has no protection. That she just walks out in the middle of like the night or the middle of her town, and then there's no one backing her up. I'm not stupid. That's not true. But you sat up here and said all that, and then you're coming back and being like, well, why is he getting all this? They're destroying his property. They're destroying the property of his customers, which is all illegal. People shouldn't be doing that. And they're threatening his life. I'm confused. What's the issue? Like, what am I losing to know that someone who's being threatened, their business is being threatened, and then the product they supply to people is being threatened? And these are just law-abiding people, for the most part, when it comes to Teslas and whatnot. And they're having their stuff destroyed, charger stations destroyed. That shit ain't cheap. But anyway, let's let her cook.
For whatever reason, just because he has a lot of money, more money than everybody else, and yes.
So in her mind, she's like, oh, because he has a lot of money. They're threatening his life, like I said, which it doesn't matter how you feel about him. You can't do that. That's wrong. They're destroying his property, and they're destroying the property of his customers. And you're like, why is he getting protection? What the It's no skin off my back if he gets protection. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that bother me? How does that bother you? Maybe it does. Put it down in the comments down below so we can talk about it. But that doesn't really bother me that he's getting protection. People are threatening him because he's voicing his opinion on a political party. Before, they left him alone. They didn't care what Elon Musk did. But now, you know, and also, he's not directly fining anyone, but I'm not gonna get into all that. I'm not.
I am happy to see that on my birthday, which is what I said, there were peaceful protests around this world against him because he is a problem. And so you never should have somebody that is sitting that high and is going to sit up here and threaten a sitting member of Congress when she knew good and well, if she watched the entire thing, that I specifically told protesters to make sure you consult with lawyers, just like I've told protesters over and over and over in the history of me advising people to go out and exercise their constitutional right. The fact that there are other sitting members that have received letters of threat from this new DOJ tells me that they are about retribution and they are not about following the law. The reason that our party, or I won't even say our party, our country is torn apart is because we can't even agree on right versus wrong.
She's absolutely right. But also, we can't agree that no side is purely innocent. We're going to sit here and act like the president hasn't gotten death threats. Whether or not you like him or not, can we all agree that that shouldn't be something that is done? Because if we start justifying things and saying, well, it has to be done because of X, Y, and Z, we're going to get to a real dark place via slippery slope. Trust me. If people start justifying doing certain things that shouldn't be done because we feel like we're standing up for something or doing what is right, we're going to get to a very scary place. A place that no one's going to want to be. I said what I said.
This should not be left versus right. The only thing that we're asking is that we have law enforcement that will show up when there is an actual crime. If somebody calls and says, hey, I need you to investigate this cyber crime, or I need you to investigate this child pornography, or I need you to investigate this robbery, then we want somebody to show up, and we don't want them to look at us and act as if just because I'm black or because I'm woman, that I am not worthy of having that case investigated, because we have an administration that is continuously railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion, or we don't need people that show up that feel like diversity should not be valued. That is why we should have somebody that may show up and looks like me.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? First of all, in the beginning part of her tangent, how does it even relate to Elon Musk? How? How does it relate to DEI? How do her talking points even relate remotely to each other? I guess via, you know, she believes that he's firing people related to DEI and everything like that. Sure, but that's a very long strand to walk along. So in other words, what she's insinuating, right? She's insinuating that because DEI is gone, when people of color or women call the police, they're not going to be treated correctly. They're going to be treated unfairly. Look, this is a tangent. I had a homegirl, right? She was going through something with her neighbors above her. And she wanted to call the police, and she was so nervous. And she was like, you know, hey, look, I don't know if they're gonna come. Like, I'm a black. I was like, look, relax. It's not that deep. for the most part, you find that a lot of police officers within our age range and how we view race and everything like that is different from past generations if that's your mindset. But I'm telling you right now, police officers in droves aren't just going out there trying to assault and be mean to black people, especially black women. That's not what's going on. They came, two white guys, and because she had me on the phone, and I overheard them, and I was like, look, just be normal. And she came back, she was like, yo, like, they were so nice, they were understanding, they were just like, you know, X, Y, and Z in it. And I was like, yeah, it's almost like you can't just look at police officers, especially if they're white, and just be like, oh, this person's gonna, no. I've had great conversations with police officers of all different shades. And to have this mindset and think that you need someone that looks like you that's going to understand you, and if they don't look like you, they're going to treat you unfairly and or persecute you, is freaking stupid. People like this is what's setting the black community back, because it breeds this type of fear. And I'm not saying that there aren't those bad actors out there. That's not what I'm saying. But we're gonna put this rhetoric out there that unless they look like us, they're not gonna stand for us. That's not true. I may not like the liberal white people, but they're white and they're trying to stand for black people. So you got your own people that don't even rock with you like that. Not all skinfolk is kinfolk. We had that saying because we know for a fact that because people are black, that doesn't mean that they rock with us. But yet in her mind, just like that firefighter in, like, I think LA or whatever, oh, I want to know that the person that comes to help me looks like me. If I'm getting robbed, I'll be damned if I care about what the person looks like. I just want you to catch the person that robbed me. You know what I'm saying? I got slapped in the face. I don't care what you look like. Catch that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want. But like I said, people like her are what put us back, because they spread this narrative that they need someone to look like them to actually be treated fairly, when that's not the case. The whole thing is just stupid. And to try to relate it to Elon Musk or just DEI in general, like, we need people that look like us. No, you don't. You just need someone that's going to have good character and treat you with respect. That has nothing to do with skin color.
Final thing that I'll say, because you've been gracious, is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, let me tell you something. When I walk in, I'm going to walk in with a level of rapport and understanding that maybe some of my other colleagues will not. Charlie offered me my job, and I worked my butt off, and I worked really, really hard for all of my clients, not just those that look like me. And that is what it looks like to serve. Thank you.
So let me get this straight, right? The thing that people are talking about saying, hey, DEI makes it so that because you have a skin color or because your gender or whatever have you, put you at the front of the line when you may not have the experience, the know-how, or just the ability to perform in that job. You outwardly just admitted, yeah, I got my job because of that. And I'm sure that she's a good litigator, she's a good lawyer and whatever, sure. But you're putting forth a precedent that you should just hire me because I'm black, because I'm going to have the understanding that other people won't have because they're white. The problem with that is you're insinuating that because of your skin color, because you're a woman, that you're going to come at something with the amount of tender care, support, or whatever have you, that someone with a different skin color can't. So in other words, if they white, they wouldn't have worked as hard as you. They wouldn't have had the same amount of care as you. But you can, because remember, she said at the end, I'm going to treat people with the same amount of respect, even if they don't have the same skin color as me. So she can do it because she's a black woman. But let's just say as a white person, yeah, they may not do that. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic pitch to get a job. Bravo. Bravo. Do we not see the precedent that's being set here? I can do no wrong. You know, I'm a black woman. Like, I'm obviously gonna come at it with this rapport, this respect and everything like that, even with the people that don't look like me. But the people that look like you, that are white, they probably won't do that. Nah, I don't have any beef with Jasmine Crockett. You know, that's my homegirl, you know. This way of thinking is a cancer, because they sit here and talk about, you know, divisiveness and everything like that. But yet here you are setting forth a precedent that if a white cop comes to you, they might not treat you right. You need someone that looks like you. You need to tell the person that you want to hire you that they should hire you because you're black and you're going to come with certain pizzazz that anyone else wouldn't have. Come on now. The jokes write themselves at this point. This is just ridiculous. Yeah. I got nothing else to say for this one. Obviously, like I've said before, we've been paying real close attention to my homegirl right here, Jasmine Crockett. You know, give her all the love and support that you can. Man, she's a trip. But you guys already know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. You know, let me know. Do you think she's right in her approach, especially when it comes to getting a job? You know what? You guys should try that out. See how it works for you. Yeah, try it out. And subscribe if you want more. Peace.